Abbas Bhatti was shot as he left his home in the capital for work. He had been calling for reforms to the country's controversial blasphemy law. To Bangladesh now, where the central bank has sacked the world-famous microfinance banker Muhammad Yunus. His supporters say the Nobel laureate has been targeted by the government ever since he tried to get involved in politics. Charles Stratford explains.
He's known as the banker to the poor and won a Nobel Peace Prize 5 years ago. The Grameen Bank that Yunus founded has provided billions of dollars in so-called microloans for the most needy. The following allegations first aired in a Norwegian TV documentary that he was involved in tax dodges. The Central Bank of Bangladesh wants Yunus sacked. He was cleared by a subsequent Norwegian inquiry and he continues to deny accusations. But despite that, the Bangladeshi government has launched its own inquiry. And it's not just about money. The central bank claims his age is another factor. He's 70, that's 10 years over the legal age for a managing director of a commercial bank. It adds that Yunus should have sought its approval before he was reappointed to his position at Grameen. And even the Prime Minister has joined his opponents. Sheikh Hasina has accused the Nobel laureate of treating his bank as, quote, his personal property, claiming his group was sucking the blood from the poor. All this has come as a shock to many of his supporters. They claim he's being targeted because of an attempt to set up a political party when a military-backed caretaker government was in power. But as the legal battles go on, Yunus is staying at the bank that's changed the lives of millions and made him famous around the world. Charles Stratford, AlJazeera.
Violence between rival political factions in Côte d'Ivoire is intensifying and thousands of people are trying to flee to neighbouring countries. We'll have more on that in a moment. And Apple CEO Steve Jobs makes a surprise appearance to unveil the latest iPad.
Hello again. For New Zealand, it's pretty wet at the moment and there's more rain still to come. On the satellite picture, you can see that recently it's been the North Island where we've seen some of the wettest of the weather. But as we head through the next couple of days, we're going to see the rain pep up and gradually push its way northwards. So by the time we get to around lunchtime on Friday, most of New Zealand is looking rather wet and also very, very windy as well. For many of us, it's going to be quite an unpleasant day. Australia is also rather unsettled at the moment. Lots of wet weather around here. And as we head through Friday, you can see these dark blue colours that suddenly crop up here in the southern parts of Queensland. This is going to be an area of very heavy downpours and there is likely to be some flooding out of that. Up towards the southeastern parts of Asia, and here we've got our usual rash of showers for most of us, but watch out for this blob of blue here. This is giving some heavy downpours and gradually it's working its way towards the west. So for the southern parts of Vietnam, we're going to see some very sharp showers as we head through the next couple of days. Now up towards Japan, and here it's very, very chilly currently. You can see the winds all flying down from the northwest, and as they do so, they're bringing in that cold air and also a fair amount of snow. Most of the wintry weather will be along the western coast for us for Thursday and Friday, and further southeast it should be more or less fine and settled.
Afghanistan is faced with a huge challenge.
Relations have gone really sour between us and our allies. We have inflicted considerable damage on the enemy.
The people who make international headlines.
Ultimately, the truth will out.
They want to stop this publication of information that embarrasses them.
Make time for Sir David Frost. Frost over the world. At this time on AlJazeera.
Welcome back to Top Stories on Al Jazeera. 2 US airmen are killed and another 2 servicemen injured after a man armed with a handgun attacked a bus carrying troops at Frankfurt Airport. Police have arrested a 21-year-old from Kosovo. Well, the US Army has filed an additional 22 counts against Bradley Manning. The soldier already faces 12 charges in connection with providing thousands of classified government documents to the WikiLeaks website. And there's been heavy fighting in the Libyan town of Breka. The area was attacked by pro-Gaddafi forces in a major counter-offensive to take back lost territory, but Gaddafi's troops were apparently unable to take control of the oil port. Attention is now turning to the stockpile of weapons Gaddafi might have built up over 4 decades of rule. But as Tim Friend reports, fears over what the Libyan leader could have at his disposal may not match up with reality.
Showing off military might is a tradition Colonel Gaddafi was happy to fulfill. This was the 40th anniversary of the revolution in 2009. But now his weapons are being used in anger. And the key questions are, how much weaponry does he have? What is he likely to do with it? And can it be neutralized? Libya's military might looks very different on paper than it does on the ground. The Air Force is said to be made up of 18,000 personnel, more than 200 fighter aircraft and 35 attack helicopters. But 3 aircraft have already been lost in the current unrest, and the airworthiness of the remaining jets has been questioned. The Navy boasts 8,000 personnel and 2 submarines, but Western military analysts believe that the subs have long been abandoned. The Libyan army claims to have 50,000 soldiers, more than 2,200 battle tanks and 945 armoured personnel carriers. But military analysts believe that years of sanctions and overall neglect have rendered much of the army's equipment useless.
Like any autocratic country, Gaddafi has probably for years been exaggerating the size of his armed forces. On the other hand, I would also warn that his forces, the ones around him now, particularly the 32nd Brigade, led by his son Khamis, is probably the best equipped in the army. It's received Western equipment, contracts inked in recent years. It's received outside training. And so despite the obsolescence of some weaponry, despite the poor servicing of some of his planes, he still retains the very best equipment as against the rebels.
So, the Libyan army may not have the strength that it claims, but there's still a significant force on the ground. Analysts say that Gaddafi has a loyalist brigade made up of 10,000 to 12,000 troops, and those forces are trying to block the advance of the opposition and maintain control in western Libya. The heavy presence of loyalist forces means that Gaddafi still retains a strong grip on the capital, Tripoli, the town of Sabha, and his hometown of Sirte. It's thought that Libya destroyed its entire stockpile of chemical weapons in 2004 as part of a rapprochement with the West. It does have deadly mustard gas stored at a secret desert location, but no longer has the capability to deliver it. Small comfort for the rebels as they battle for victory. Tim Friend, Al Jazeera.
At least 2 people have been killed in Yemen during clashes between security forces and protesters calling for reform. Thousands have also been demonstrating once again in the capital Sana'a and the northern city of Saada. Opposition parties have presented the president with a set of proposals they say form a roadmap to departure. President Saleh is